For a few days this week, anyway, Twitter lost one of its 320 million daily users. That's because actress Leslie Jones, who stars in the new Ghostbusters movie, hit a breaking point when she was hit with a tsunami of abusive tweets.
I'm about to save you from this ghost!
Leslie Jones should have been soaring, starring in one of the summer's big movies. But her high profile sparked some low-class reaction.
She's quitting Twitter after online trolls sent her a barrage of racist tweets.
So Jones tweeted, "I leave Twitter tonight with tears and a very sad heart."
The catalyst for much of this digital rampage was Milo Yiannopoulos, a conservative tech writer and rabid tweeter. Among his tweets, "Teenage boys with tits, here's my problem with Ghostbusters." When Leslie Jones objected, Yiannopoulos sent this. And Ghostbusters is doing so badly they've deployed LesDog to play the victim on Twitter. Very sad. Twitter finally blocked Yiannopoulos, saying in part, "Our rules prohibit inciting or engaging in the targeted abuse or harassment of others."
I've been pretty mean through the years on Twitter, but I don't think that's a reason to excise somebody from the platform. Actually, plenty of people enjoy what I do.
Not the editorial page of the Boston Globe. They're urging Twitter to get tougher on hate-mongering. But when a presidential nominee routinely uses his account to mock and a U.S. senator does likewise, where do you draw the line?
If Twitter does change its rules to clamp down on all the most fun people on its network, all of the most interesting people on its network, is that people are going to leave.
Not Leslie Jones. She came back yesterday. You know, it's interesting to me about this, because I think we've all been the subject of this in some form or other, that Twitter really doesn't get involved. I mean, this was a very public campaign, but they're not going to step in unless it's extremely vile, because, I mean, they need the numbers, the avatars, they need the numbers. They don't really care if somebody's being abused.
Milo the Lizard makes a great point, which is that if they started cracking down, there goes their audience, or large chunks of it. They have no intention of doing so. This has been an issue for years, that they really don't respond to complaints of abuse in any meaningful or broad-based way. And, you know, the fact is, this is not a television or radio station that uses the public airwaves under a license. It's a private organization using a private means to communicate with people. This forum is not, no one has a right to access this forum necessarily. They can and should police. I mean, it would be as if, you know, a bakery has a display window for its wares, but punk kids come by every night and smear dog dew all over the window, and you don't do anything about it. Well, you deserve to go out of business.
Twitter is a cesspool. They've had problems for a long time. They don't have the kind of controls in place that, say, Facebook does. Facebook is not perfect, but it's a much more civil environment than Twitter tends to be. I have gotten much more liberal in my use of the block button on Twitter. It's like, you're gone. I'm just not going to see you anymore. John is exactly right. This is not necessarily a free speech forum. It's a private network, and Twitter has to decide what's best for its business model. And this kind of garbage is not good for its business model. They may think that, oh, we don't want to drive people away, but in fact, there are probably more people who are staying away because of its reputation, who might come on if it was a more civil environment. One quick thing. Twitter has long had this verification process for people in the media. Me getting my little blue check mark was one of the proudest moments of my life. Well, now they're opening it up to everybody. Is this going to be a good thing for civility, or is it just going to be everybody's going to be verified, so they're going to think they can say anything they want? I don't know.
A couple of things. Typically, this context has been against women.
Yes.
So that's just to put that in context. So Leslie Jones becomes a part of a larger thing that's been aimed at any woman that actually had any kind of stand. But if you're taking a strong stand, certainly a political stand, you were just eviscerated, and more than that, threatened in a very serious way that we're talking about, involving police, you know, threats against your life, that kind of stuff. Many people have had to shut down, many women have had to shut down their account. A year or so ago, the Women's Media Center based here in Boston actually supported one woman who was the threats were outrageous.
From the gamers.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And they were able to get Twitter to the table,
right, I
and
remember that,
Twitter said, okay, well, let's look at this again, and they were supposed to be working on this. So I want to say that. However, in this entire context, the gentleman who is a reporter for the New York Times came out and talked about the viciousness of the anti-Semitism that came at him through Twitter. So yes, they have a responsibility if they want to do that. If the political candidates want to go at each other, that's one thing perhaps. But this thing against women particularly,
Well, the
is
Donald
really
Trump stuff
bad.
against Megyn Kelly.
Yes,
was vicious.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I agree with all of this. And I feel no sympathy whatsoever for Milo, who could not have been happier to be banned by
Exactly.
Twitter,
Yeah.
because it fits into his whole bad boy rebel kind of a thing here. But I do think that what Twitter has allowed this to go to the point where I do think that it does contribute somehow to the coarsening of our public dialogue. And for this was a small step, perhaps too late. But apparently the line now is you can be rude and crude and racist and ugly as long as you don't try to incent a crowd of others to do the same
Yeah.
against
They're going to let him
someone.
back.
Where do you draw
That's
that
what it
line?
is.
He's probably
I know,
already back
it's,
on
Do you think they'll let him back,
yeah.
John?
Yeah,
The
They'll
Milo?
let him back, right?
Oh,
yeah.
He's back already under another name, I'm sure.
right.
Probably.
True.
Could be.
Right.